Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so you know that incredibly specific, kind of hollow feeling you get right after you finally buy something you've been eyeing online for weeks? You hit purchase, you obsessively track the package, you tear open the box, and then, literally within a day, it's just another object taking up space on your desk. Well, today, we're unpacking exactly why that happens. It's known as the paradox of perpetual want. We're going to explore this totally shared human experience, that feeling of being stuck on a hamster wheel of chronic dissatisfaction. Because no matter what we achieve or buy or do, there's just this lingering sense that it's not quite enough. So we're diving straight into the exact science of why human beings are wired this way, and more importantly, how understanding this psychological glitch can actually set us free. It really makes you stop and wonder, why does getting exactly what we want rarely actually make us happy? Just think about it for a second. You spend months, maybe even years, saving up for something or grinding toward a massive goal. You finally land that big promotion, move into that dream apartment, or snag that crazy expensive piece of tech. You celebrate the milestone, right? But then, strangely, shortly after the dust settles, you feel kind of empty. The goalpost just silently moves on you. It's absolutely fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty frustrating to figure out why that happens. So, society is constantly feeding us this very specific, really alluring myth. Getting more things equals happiness. But as we all know, there is a massive gap between that dream and reality. The dream tells us that acquiring the shiny new car, landing the perfect job, or finally curating that flawless Instagram aesthetic is the ultimate finish line. You'll cross it and boom, you're eternally content. But the reality? Well, it often feels surprisingly lackluster. Fast forward a month, and that flawless Instagram life just looks like a pile of unwashed laundry sitting next to a slightly used ring light. You just get bored. The thrill of that massive achievement or big purchase totally fades, and we are left staring at the ceiling, asking ourselves, wait, is this really it? Section 1. The Trap of Wanting More. Okay, let's dive into this, because you see, this isn't just some vague philosophical problem. It is a deeply psychological one. There are actual documented concepts that explain this constant hunger for what we don't have. To understand this trap, we gotta look at how our brains process reality. The first major culprit, something psychologists call social comparison. It's essentially the psychological act of measuring ourselves against others and, well, coming up short. You see a neighbor pull up in a shinier car or a friend posting from some glamorous vacation, and suddenly your perfectly fine life feels totally inadequate. But here's the absolutely crucial thing to understand. This isn't just simple envy. When we engage in social comparison, we are buying into a literal illusion. Our brains trick us into equating that neighbor's car with their overall happiness. We tell ourselves that true joy is located over there, just beyond our current grip, belonging to someone else. And that fuels this intense, almost unquenchable hunger for whatever is missing in our own lives. Let's move to the flip side of this equation and see how this builds. If social comparison is about what we don't have, hedonic adaptation is all about what we do have. This is the process where our brains simply adjust to the good stuff we acquire. Remember that brand new phone you completely obsessed over? You watched literally every YouTube review, you waited for the release day. A month later, it's just a boring smudged rectangle in your pocket. The initial thrill just fades into routine because your brain actually adapts to its presence. It stops registering the phone as new and exciting and just recategorizes it as part of the background furniture of your life. Section 2. The Science of Boredom. And this brilliantly illustrates that we don't just have to guess about this stuff. Empirical research proves that our brains are actively, measurably working against our lasting contentment. For example, a 2018 study published in the journal Emotion looked really closely at upward comparison, that habit of frequently comparing ourselves to folks who seem to be doing better than us. The result? People who do this report significantly lower life satisfaction across the board. But what's really intriguing is the research from the Journal of Positive Psychology on big wins. We're talking major, life-altering events like getting a massive raise or buying a new house. The researchers found that the psychological thrill fades shockingly fast. We experience what scientists call a reset to baseline. Think of your brain like a thermostat for happiness. It might temporarily spike when you walk into a gorgeous new house, but soon enough, the thermostat clicks off, the temperature normalizes, and that breathtaking living room, it just becomes the place where you fold your laundry. What once felt incredibly exciting just becomes your totally routine normal. And suddenly, you're itching for the next hit. Section 3. Our evolutionary survival glitch. Now, if looking at all that data makes you feel a little bit guilty, like you're just inherently ungrateful, I want you to pause for a second. We need to reframe this completely. This relentless dissatisfaction, it is not a moral failing on your part. Actually, scratch that. It's an outdated survival mechanism. Let's go back 10,000 years. Evolution hardwired our ancestors to just keep chasing. They needed to relentlessly seek more food, better shelter, and higher status. Why? Well, because in a brutal, scarce environment, standing still literally meant falling behind and risking your life. You had to want more just to survive. But fast forward to today. We live in a world of relative plenty. That hardwired drive to chase, though, yeah, it hasn't gone anywhere. It turns on us. Instead of driving us to forage for berries to survive a harsh winter, or, I don't know, outrun a saber-toothed tiger, it causes us massive anxiety as we refresh a tracking app for a package delivery, or fret over not having the absolute latest smartphone. We are dissatisfied because we're built to want, and we get bored because we're built to adapt. So, the crucial point is we are caught in what is effectively a double whammy. This evolutionary glitch creates a perfect, inescapable trap. On one hand, we completely romanticize the unattainable. We look at what we don't have and convince ourselves it is the absolute, guaranteed key to our happiness. On the other hand, we vastly undervalue the present. We take the incredible things we do have entirely for granted. It is a psychological loop specifically designed to keep us constantly itching for the next fix, never allowing us to just sit down and be content.
Section 4. The threat to your legacy.
Now, why does all this matter? Why not just accept that we're constantly going to want to buy new things and just live with it? Well, we have to pivot to the very real stakes of this psychological trap. There's an incredibly powerful thought from the text that frames this perfectly. It says, if we're stuck pining for what's not ours or dismissing what is, we miss the chance to build something meaningful day by day. If it's just chasing the next shiny thing, it's a treadmill. This is the very real danger of boredom. It blinds us to the immense value of what we are already holding right in our hands. The resources, the relationships, the skills you have right now, those are the exact tools you need to build something lasting. But if you're always looking over the fence, you're never going to water your own grass.
Section 5. How to break the cycle.
So we know the trap, we know the science, and we know the high stakes. The big question is, how do we actually get off the treadmill? Let's shift away from the problem and look at the actionable, scientifically supported solutions. Now, what's really interesting about this is that we don't have to fake joy. First up, practice gratitude. And I definitely don't mean forcing some kind of toxic positivity. Studies from researcher Robert Emmons show that gratitude actively counters hedonic adaptation. It literally forces your brain to manually override the baseline reset by noticing and savoring what you already have. You just purposefully direct your attention to the good. Second, and this is a real game changer, channel your dissatisfaction into purpose. You are hardwired to be discontent, so use it. Don't just stew on that restless energy or numb out by buying more stuff online. Turn that discontent into fuel. If you're frustrated, use that energy to build a legacy, solve a complex problem in your community, or master a new skill. Instead of buying a new item for a cheap dopamine hit, build a new habit. Use that evolutionary itch to create something way bigger than yourself. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. If you know that chasing the next shiny object is just going to end in a baseline reset, and you know that your evolutionary discontent is a powerful, undeniable fuel, what mission will you fuel with your discontent? Let's stop chasing the reset and start building your legacy today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.